let me ask you something, and be honest with yourself. What's really standing in your way? Not the polite answer you give others, the real one. Is it fear? Is it the feeling that you never have enough time? Or maybe it's comfort, the kind that feels safe but slowly steals the life you want. We all have reasons that sound solid in our heads. I've had them, you had them. Everyone has. But here's the truth most of us avoid saying out loud. Those reasons often aren't reasons at all. They're excuses, dressed up in convincing clothes. And while we walk through this reflection together, you'll also be gently training your English with real, emotional language you'll actually use. This is Evie, and here we speak in a way your mind can breathe and your heart can hear. Because today's message is not only about motivation, it's about learning to speak about effort, mindset, fear, and growth in English that feels natural. By the end, I don't just want you to understand these words, I want you to feel ready to begin. So, what if we set all the excuses down just for the length of this video and see what happens when you give yourself permission to try? You might be wondering, what does all of this have to do with learning English? More than you think, because language learning is one of the clearest mirrors for our excuses. I'm too old. I'm just not good with languages. I don't have time to study. I've heard these words from so many learners, and I've said my own versions of them too. But here's what I've seen, over and over again. The people who grow the most aren't always the ones with a natural talent. They're the ones who show up every day. They stumble. They forget words. They get things wrong, and then they try again. Little by little, almost invisibly, they get better. That's it. No secret formula, just showing up when it's boring, when it's messy, when it feels like nothing is changing. So if you've ever held yourself back because you were embarrassed, afraid, or simply unmotivated, this is for you. Because you can break that cycle, not by waiting for fear to disappear, but by learning to move through it, in English and through English. Let's clear something up. Trying doesn't mean doing everything perfectly. It doesn't mean being the best in the class. And it definitely doesn't mean working yourself into exhaustion. Trying is simpler and braver. It's showing up with what you have, even when it feels small. It's speaking a sentence in English, even if the grammar wobbles. It's pressing play on a podcast when you're tired because you promised yourself you would. It's taking a single step forward instead of waiting for that mythical perfect time. Because here's the truth no one likes to hear. There is no perfect time. Think of trying like planting a seed. You don't wait for the weather to be flawless, the soil to be perfect, and the tools to be brand new. You plant it now, knowing the growth happens slowly, quietly, in the middle of imperfect conditions. So if you're waiting to feel ready, you'll be waiting forever. Readiness isn't a feeling you wait for. It's a muscle you build by showing up. Let's be honest for a moment. We all have our go-to excuses. The most popular, I don't have time. Yes, life is busy, but here's the uncomfortable question. How much of that no time is actually scrolling through your phone, half watching Netflix, or thinking about what you want to do instead of actually doing it? Another favorite, I'm just not naturally good at this. But being naturally good was never the requirement. Getting better is the goal. And the only way to get better is to start imperfectly. Excuses feel safe because they protect us from the risk of trying and failing. But they also protect us from growing. And here's the trick. Next time you hear yourself saying one, stop. catch it in your hands like a small stone. Ask yourself, is this really a reason or just a story I'm telling myself to stay comfortable? Because the moment you see it as a story, you can rewrite it. It's strange, isn't it? We dream about something, speaking English fluently, getting that job, starting that project, and yet we dodge the very steps that would take us there. Why? Because trying is risky. It opens the door to failure. If we don't try, we don't have to face embarrassment. We don't have to feel the sting of disappointment. But here's the hidden cost. We also don't get to grow. We don't get that rush of pride when something finally clicks. We don't get the small victories that quietly build a new version of ourselves. Fear often wears a mask that looks like protection, but really it's a cage, soft on the inside, locked on the outside. Today, we start gently lifting that mask because the beginning of everything you want is on the other side of trying. Excuses don't just slow your progress, they reshape the way you see yourself as a learner. Think about it. If you keep telling yourself, I can't speak English well because I have a bad memory, you're building a wall in your own mind before you've even stepped onto the road. And every time you avoid speaking because you're afraid of mistakes, that wall grows taller, thicker, harder to climb. The good news? Walls can be taken down, one brick at a time. Every time you try, even just a little, you remove a piece. Each attempt makes the fear a little smaller and your confidence a little stronger. And here's something most people overlook. Confidence isn't just as important as vocabulary or grammar. Sometimes it's the very thing that allows those skills to grow. Because when you believe you can speak, you give yourself the space to learn how. Most people picture progress as a straight climb. One day you're struggling, the next you're fluent. But real progress? It's messy. It's the long stretches where you feel like nothing is changing. It's studying for weeks without noticing a difference, until one unexpected moment arrives. You're watching a movie, and suddenly you understand a full sentence without subtitles. You're in conversation, and the right word just appears in your mind without effort. That moment feels like lightning, but it isn't luck. It's the result of every invisible step you took, every sentence you spoke, every time you listened when you were tired, every small decision to keep going when no one was watching. Progress isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet. But it's always building beneath the surface, waiting for the right moment to show itself. The first step is always the heaviest. It's the moment when everything feels too big, too confusing, too far away. We tell ourselves we're planning, but often we're just circling the starting line, afraid to take that first move. Because in the beginning, we feel the most insecure. We don't know the rules yet. We can't see the whole path. But here's the secret. The first step doesn't have to be dramatic. It can be tiny, almost invisible to anyone but you. Opening your notebook, joining a single English conversation, saying one sentence out loud. Once you move, even a little, the weight begins to lift. Fear doesn't vanish, but it grows quieter. And confidence, it starts to speak up. So if you've been hovering at the edge, waiting for the right moment, let this be it. One small step today is worth 100 perfect plans tomorrow. Let's talk about something most of us try to avoid: failure. We treat it like the enemy, as if one wrong move erases all our effort. But failure isn't the opposite of success. It's part of the road that leads there. You can fail and still be proud, because pride doesn't only come from winning. It comes from showing up again after the fall. It comes from proving to yourself that the setback didn't break you. Think of it like climbing a mountain. Every slip, every scraped knee is part of the climb. The only real failure is refusing to take the next step. So when you stumble, and you will, remember this. Every time you rise again, you're not starting over. You're starting from experience. Some people are born with a natural gift for languages, for music, for anything they touch. But talent without effort is like a seed left in the packet. It has potential, but it never grows. Effort, though, steady, consistent effort, beats talent every time. You can be average and hardworking and still surpass the most gifted person in the room. Language learners who show up every day, who study even when the topic feels dull, who speak even when their voice shakes, they win every time. Because talent is an advantage only if you use it. Effort is a superpower you can choose, no matter where you start. So don't waste energy wondering how good you are. Spend it deciding how much you're willing to give. One of the biggest weights you'll ever carry is the fear of being judged. You worry someone will laugh at your accent, or think you sound silly, or correct you in a way that stings. I understand that, truly. But here's the quiet truth. Most people aren't paying that much attention. They're busy with their own lives, their own worries, their own mistakes. And the few who do judge, their opinions say more about them than they ever will about you. When you stop letting other people's voices echo louder than your own, you set yourself free. Free to make mistakes, free to experiment, free to grow without asking permission. That freedom is where real learning begins. Not when every word is perfect, but when every word is yours. Confidence doesn't grow from thinking about what you could do. It grows from doing the thing you're afraid of and realizing you survived it. You can read every book, watch every video, plan the perfect study schedule. But until you act, confidence stays locked away like an unopened gift. The first time you try, your hands might shake, your voice might crack. That's normal, that's human. But with each attempt, the fear shrinks a little and your voice grows a little stronger. Step by step, you start to believe the sentence, "I can do this." Not because someone told you so, but because you've proven it to yourself. Waiting feels harmless. You tell yourself, "I'll start tomorrow." But tomorrow turns into next week, next month, next year. Every day you delay, you lose a little momentum, a little courage, a little opportunity. And time, once it's gone, doesn't come back. So instead of asking, "What if I fail?" ask, "What will it cost me if I never try?" That question changes everything, because failure might sting for a moment, but regret lingers for a lifetime. Let's be honest, discomfort is not pleasant. When you try something new, it can feel awkward and exhausting, like learning to drive for the first time, overthinking every move, gripping the wheel too tightly, your mind buzzing with doubt. But discomfort is a signpost. It means you're stretching beyond the edges of your comfort zone. It means growth is happening, even if you can't see it yet. No one becomes fluent in a language without sitting in that awkward space. It's where your brain is rewiring, where new habits are forming, where the old limits start to break. So instead of running from discomfort, lean into it. Get familiar with it. Because on the other side of that unease is the very progress you've been chasing. Big achievements feel amazing, but small wins are the ones that build them. If you listened to this podcast today, that's a step. If you understood a single new phrase, that's a step. If you whispered one English word out loud, even just to yourself, that's a step. Think of every small effort as dropping a coin into a jar. At first, the jar looks empty, but over time, with each coin, it begins to fill. One day you look at it and think, how did I get here? The answer will be simple, one small step at a time. So celebrate every move forward, no matter how tiny it feels, because those steps are the real foundation of your success. Trying isn't a theory, it's a choice you make in real moments. It might be setting your phone's language to English, ordering food in English while you travel, sending a short message to a friend, even if it isn't perfect. For some, it's speaking up during a meeting. For others, it's reading a page of a book out loud to hear your own voice. Trying looks different for everyone, but it always has the same heartbeat. You decide to engage instead of retreat. You take the step, however small, instead of standing still. So today, look at your own life and ask, where can I try just a little more? Motivation is like the sun, warm and energizing when it's out, but it doesn't shine every day. Some mornings, you'll feel ready to conquer the world. Other days, you won't even want to open your notebook. That's when discipline steps in. Discipline isn't about being harsh with yourself. It's about doing something small, even when you don't feel like it. 10 minutes of listening, 5 minutes of reading, one sentence spoken out loud. It doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to happen. Because those small actions keep the wheels turning until the sunlight of motivation returns. Maybe you've walked this road already. You started learning English once but stopped. You joined a class, got overwhelmed, and quit. And now the thought of starting again feels heavy, maybe even pointless. But your past doesn't get to decide your future. Just because something didn't work before doesn't mean it won't work now. You're not the same person you were then. You're older, wiser, more aware of what you need. Failure isn't a closed door. It's a teacher, one that leaves you with lessons no success ever could. So don't let it define you. Let it prepare you. And then start again, this time a little stronger. Trying isn't just a duty. It's a gift you give to your own future. It's your way of saying, I matter, my goals matter, my life matters. When you try, you're proving to yourself that you believe in your own potential, even if no one else sees it yet. You're planting seeds that only you know are there, trusting that with time, they'll grow into something worth all the effort. And the beauty of this gift? You don't need perfect conditions to give it. You can offer it to yourself in the middle of a messy day, in a noisy room, with nothing but your willingness to begin. Because trying isn't about impressing others. It's about honoring yourself. So let's end with one simple, powerful question. What will happen if you decide to try today? Not tomorrow, not next week, not when life feels easier. Today. Maybe it's speaking to someone in English. Maybe it's watching a video without subtitles. Maybe it's writing down your goals or saying one sentence out loud, clearly and confidently. Whatever it is, take that step now. Because you don't need to be perfect to begin. You just need to begin. And remember, there is no excuse for not trying.